You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It is 9 o'clock on the 20th of the 6th, 20th of the 6th, 2017. That only means one thing. Yes, it's the Paranormal Concept Show. And welcome to joining me tonight. I've got three very special guests joining me tonight. I'm going to start with the hostess with the mostess. We're going to go Kerry Greenaway. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you.
You've not melted under the hot sun yet?
Not quite. I'm a little red. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not. I still look like I'm anemic or something.
That doesn't surprise me.
I just love the fan. What can I say?
Oh, bless you.
Absolutely. So, yeah, all good. And you just launched your new radio show as well, haven't you?
I did on Sunday. I did.
Yeah?
The Spirit Dimension is a Sunday show. It is looking more at all sorts of things, because I like paranormal and obviously more the spiritual side. So I've got a different type of guest on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Awesome. So and as well as doing some special interviews coming up as well, I've got John Kaneko James coming up soon, with Andy Mercer, and I've got some amazing guests for the Spirit Dimension. So,
I didn't say you could plug it.
Well, I am going to take the opportunity if you give it to me. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, and we've also got Kaz Rooney joining us tonight. Hello, Kaz.
Hello, Paul.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm absolutely fab. Still clutching the fan as we speak.
Oh,
yeah. So, how's your week been?
It's been good. Been busy.
Really? You've got. You were telling us earlier that you got a paranormal investigation to go to at the weekend.
Yeah.
Do you want to share that with everybody?
We are going to Pendle Hill on Friday, and
Very
it'll be
nice.
an investigation. So,
Is it just your paranormal team, or are you going with the public?
well, no, it's just going to be obviously our team, but there's another two teams I believe going to be there as well. So, I think there'll be about 3 teams. So I think there's going to be quite a few of us actually.
Excellent. Pendle Hill's a very good location. I've been there, and it's definitely got that eerie feeling to it. Absolutely. And also, tonight's subject, we're talking about phone apps. Do you use phone apps on your investigations? No. I must agree. To be honest, I don't use phone apps either. So it's going to be interesting to talk to Brian Holloway, and he's in the green room as well. So hello, Brian.
Hello, Paul. Hello, guys.
Hello. How are you? Have you had a good week?
I am. I'm a bit sunburnt. I heard you talking about the sun earlier on there, but yeah, I'm a bit sunburnt and a bit hot. But apart from that, I'm good.
Yeah, the sun's been really bad, and
Oh,
apparently it's getting hotter as well. next week.
It's supposed to be, yeah, and I'm already well cooked now, so... I
think I'm going to buy another 3 fans just to cool me down.
I think it's a good plan.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go. Actually, I might move into the freezer. We'll see how that one goes. So, Brian, you've tell us a little bit about yourself first. So, what sort of got you into the paranormal?
Well, I started off in the paranormal very, very, very young. My very first memory that I can actually recall was paranormal in nature. So it's been an ongoing thing for a very long time. And I've dealt with all sorts of weird and wonderful things as I've gone through my life, which has landed us where we are today, where I've sort of started developing and using and trying to show the people how these apps can work.
Right, okay. I mean, is it really hard to convince people about these apps?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes and no. At the minute, where we are with the apps, because we've been developing apps for a little while now, I didn't start off developing apps from an early offset. I started off using apps, like a lot of people have, like people probably all remember Ghost Radar and things like that used to be able to get on your phones.
Yep.
Yeah, we've all started off there, so we've all played with that. Then I got into EchoBox. I think everyone's pretty much heard of EchoBox as well.
Yeah.
I got into that and started using that when I got involved in a TV show that was filmed in Gibraltar, and I kind of got locked onto that, and we decided to use it. And then I decided I wanted to try different things that other developers weren't doing, and I wanted to go down different routes, so that's how I kind of got pulled into where I'm at now with the apps and how they work. But as for sort of convincing people how they work and do they work and are they going to be useful, where we at now, when I send the apps out for testing, the replies and the information coming through the apps is so clear and so precise that it kind of that convinces people that they're real, that they can work, and that they do work. Yeah. So the apps kind of speak for themselves, no pun intended. Just people using them and getting the information they do.
Yeah. Well, I know Kerry Greenaway, she posted on Facebook today a question. Kerry, do you want to enlighten everybody? And
Yeah, I mean, I posted up, basically, do you use phone apps in your investigations? If you do, what ones and what are your thoughts? Now, not many people came back with specific apps that they used, but there was a lot of distrust with them. One person said there are lots of different phone applications available. Some of them are quite sophisticated. However, in my experience, I think they may be quite ineffective, since ghosts are by their nature ephemeral, and by the time a ghost might be detected, experienced, the application would be useless as the energy would have dissipated. But everyone says this is only my view.
Yeah.
Another person said that no, we always leave mobile switched off and in a secure lock box, or if needed to for personal reasons, we always have them on aeroplane mode, because she's found that the apps on phone interfere with equipment and people spend too much time on their apps instead of doing what they're supposed to be doing. And again, just a personal opinion. And we even had Rob Demarest say, talking about the ghost box, when you say ghost box, don't you mean the Franks box? Or do we cut him out of history because they don't talk to ghosts? So, you know, there's like a very huge difference of opinion in regarding to apps. I mean, one person said, if you're into data analysis, which in this Graham's opinion was the way forward, there are some great apps that you can use that use your phone's internal sensors. Not for everyone, but he finds it fascinating. And when I was researching this show, I even spoke to our very own Kev Kerr, who is from Paranormal, and he, bless him, as everybody knows out there, I'm not very good with tech, and he very patiently talked me through some of the tech terms that are about mobile phones, because I was getting confused between sensors and apps. I found the whole thing very confusing. So there is a very divided distrust about apps out there about that.
There is, but I think what's caused that is in the early days of apps becoming a thing, there was a lot of people just sort of like rushing things out, and there was a lot of joke apps. You can go on the Play Store now. You can get like put the ghost in the photograph, and you can get like apps that's supposed to let you listen to a spirit speaking, and they even say in the description it's just a prank, it's a joke. And I think there was so many of those released in a short space of time that then people thought, like, when serious apps started appearing, that they labelled them with the same sort of thing. They're just jokes, or they're just gimmicks. And where we are now with apps, that's not true. We're so far away from that at the moment with the apps that, you know, they used right, they can be just as effective as any other piece of kit. Or that's my belief, and that's my sort of thing, because obviously we do a lot of testing and we do a lot of our things using these things. But again, it's each to their own. Some people like to use different types of equipment. Some people do like to use the mobile devices during investigations. Some people don't. Like I say, and I don't take it personally when people say I don't like the apps and I don't think they work, because it's just a personal thing.
No, I do agree with that. I mean, I mean, me personally, I don't think some of the apps out there, the phones were designed to cope with that sort of programming. So I prefer to have the phones either switched off or on airplane mode.
Yeah.
What about you, Kaz? Do you agree with that, or have you got your own view?
Well, like I said, I haven't used phone apps before. So I can't really say that they work or they don't work. I have also asked members of my group if they've used phone apps. And again, as Kerry says, it's been divided between some people trust them and some people don't.
That's the thing. It's about trust. It's about trusting what is in the app. Because even I've used different people's apps. I don't just use the apps we develop. I've used different apps, and there's always that element of doubt because you didn't make it. You don't know what's gone in there. So there's always that little bit of doubt. And it's the same for people who use our apps. There's always a little bit of doubt in there because they weren't there when it was put together. They weren't going through the process that we do when we develop these things. And we do certain things with our apps to try and sort of ensure that there's no false positive, there's no false hits, that everything that you're hearing, technically shouldn't be there, the voices that are coming out. But I do understand about people kind of having a little bit of doubt when they're using these things. But what I would say to people, because people have doubt not just because it's an app, they have doubt because it's on a mobile device or on a tablet as well. They say, well, it's a phone, how can it be used for that? But what I say to people is, even the best equipment in the world, paranormal equipment, is just hardware running software. Whether it's a modern digital ghost box or whether it's even a Doubter K2 meter, it's just hardware running software. And all we do as the app developers is we're using the hardware that's already available for us. And a modern phone has got like powerful processors, it's got lots of memory, it's got sensors in that we can use. And to me, I just see it in my head as it's no different. And I know you've said people say they don't like them because they interfere with other equipment. But of the apps that we develop, or a lot of them, you can run them in aeroplane mode. They don't have to have any of the sensors activated. So basically, you're just using it as a handheld little computer. So it shouldn't interfere with any other equipment.
What is the latest app that you've developed?
The latest one that has been actually released is called Arius Box. We're working on another one that's released shortly, which is the mirror image to Arius Box. Because Arius Box is just a box that's designed to have nothing but pure positivity. Everything's positive. There's no negative sounds. There's nothing in there. It's all just uses ambient banks that uses like positive prayer sounds, just to bring in a positive vibe as you're using it. And we're working on the exact opposite because people are into different things. So some people like to communicate with the light and the positive. Some people do prefer slightly darker and negative stuff. So that's where we are at the moment. That's what we're working on at the moment.
Okay. So with that, the thing that gives out the positive vibes, is it just sort of like a basic music box that plays out the positive music?
No, yes and no. It's a ghost box. Primarily, it's got 6 banks of audio built in, and the audio is all reversed. We only use reverse audio, And
Yep.
that's obviously simply because if you're using even like a ghost box, like a scanning radio ghost box, it's scanning radio and it's scanning audio forward. So you might get a positive hit. You might get a word that comes out that obviously is just there. But if you're using reverse audio, there should be nothing coming out forwards at all. And reverse audio is just gibberish anyway. But we also, in the latest apps, we're using reverse Latin. So unless you can speak fluid Latin, it's gibberish forwards, never mind backwards.
So is there no words pre-programmed into it?
Not at all. None.
No.
And what we do is so Arius box is all Latin. It's positive Latin. It's like Latin prayer, Latin protection, and things like that. So it's all positive, but it's all reversed. And what we do is even backwards, as the app is scanning through the banks like it would like on a radio, you might get a fluke where you might get a sound that sounds a little bit like a word, but we actually go through all the audio banks multiple times and remove any audio anomalies. So we can basically rule out 99.99% that there is nothing that even sounds like a word in there. And the thing is, when people are then using these apps, there's even people that's been using it and they're going to be using it on TV, that they're running it and they're getting such precise information that they just cannot understand how it even works. They're getting their names, their families' names, even had like the pets' names and things like that are just coming out of this thing. And
Okay. Is the app available on like Google Play or
It is.
iTunes or whatever?
well, we don't program for iPhone, unfortunately, because Apple make things a little bit more difficult to program for Apple devices. It's all Android based. So yeah, all the apps that we do at the moment, right up to Arius Box, is available on the Play Store. And like I say, sorry.
I was going to say, how much is it, or is it a free download?
No, we keep things very, very affordable. I think that one is $2.99
Okay.
for Arius Box. So they range from 99 pence. I think the dearest one we ever did was a Geminis Box Mark II, which was a massive app. It was the biggest one we'd ever done, and I think that was $4.99. But we always keep them because when you look on the Play Store, there are some free apps, but even myself, I kind of stay away from some of the free ones because some of the paid ones, there's a lot more effort being put into them sometimes. But I don't agree when you start going up into the other spectrum where you're getting some apps that are $30 and $40 and things like that. That's getting to me for an app. That's getting a bit expensive. So we try and keep things as cheap as possible.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I would like to give them a go and see what we can get.
Well,
if
we
anything.
will in a bit.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Well,
Okay.
last night I downloaded Brian's Ghost app, and I've been playing with it. So we're going to have a go of that later, aren't we?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, the Ghost Box, yeah.
Your
the Ghost
Epiphany
Box one.
Yeah.
live experiment.
Well,
on
I
that.
thought it might be interesting. I thought it might be a little interesting to do a live experiment live on air.
It's always a cool thing to do because obviously when as you've heard, when you run these things, you basically, as it's scanning, you're getting just basically gibberish because it's all reversed and backwards. And it's nice that when you play it and a load of people can listen at the same time and they all hear the same thing, which is really cool sometimes when they all pick the same thing out.
So if for example, one of these paranormal investigators that like to do everything scientific, if they used your phone app and they got some results from that, would you be willing to say to them, this is the program that we've used, so they can actually look at the programming of that app and sort of almost deconstruct it, as it were, to see whether or not it could be something related to the app or not?
Well, there's some people ask, but obviously for us, we've had problems with people doing similar things, and they've kind of borrowed the app, if you know what I mean. Under the ground, so we have to be careful with that. But what we do is we can. I know it's just our word, but the results speak for themselves. And what I always tell people is the apps aren't really big. They're not really big downloads. And when people are running the apps, so there's 20 people trying the app, and they all getting different information. They're getting the mum's name, the dad's name, all personal information. So what I say to them is, for me to have programmed that in there ahead of advance, I would have to know. I would have to know everybody that's got the app, everybody that's ever going to download the app from now for years ahead, know everything about all of their family members, the past pets they've had, and then program all this in. It's physically impossible. It is literally physically impossible. And that's
I can understand that.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like I say, we are reluctant to give people the audio banks, not because we don't trust what's in there, because you can hear the audio banks themselves. I mean, you run it and you will not get the same results as someone else. So there isn't names automatically planted in there because everybody's getting different things.
Yeah.
It's no one's getting the same stuff.
It's just like, for me, I think it's the Ovilus. They've got, say, for example, 2,000 pre-programmed words into it.
Yeah.
And for me to go on an investigation, and it throws out random words, but those 2,000 pre-programmed words are associated with the paranormal. So you're going to get words like demon and death,
exactly,
and stuff like that. So I just would like to confirm.
Well, the thing is with the apps we do, there is no pre-programmed words. The Ovilus device is a database of words. Obviously, it's just a database. Our apps don't have a database. It's actually physical audio banks. And again, I cannot pre-program in everybody's name and everybody's details. You know what I mean? In an app like Ovilus, you could obviously slip words in there, like you've said. There's obviously words like demon and ghost and names and all sorts.
Yeah.
And they put like what I believe is, because I actually did a similar app called Paravoice too, which works along the similar lines. So in the Ovilus, they put common names: Peter, Paul, John. You know. Yeah. So the in there. So when they come out, it's kind of, unless it's to an exact question you've asked, there's no surprise it might pop out. But in the apps, there is no physical words, none. All the audio that's in there is, especially with the later ones, is Latin, and it's reversed. And the audio banks are actually not that big because they don't need to be, because they're all being mixed at high speed as well, all at different times. That gives the randomness. So there's nothing pre-programmed in there, because it would be an impossibly big app if I had to program all that data in as MP3 files. So
yeah.
Now there has been a point raised in the chat room at this point. I want to bring it up because it's relevant to the point we're making at this moment. Now, this is from Kev, and he says, but everybody has details on a mobile phone. So is the app taking the details from the mobile phone and translating that into the app? I'm assuming that's where we're going with that.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And I have actually come across that in some apps in the past, which it is possible. But our apps don't communicate or take any data from the phone. All our apps do, it's pre-programmed banks, the 6 banks of audio. And it's all pre-made audio, like I say, Latin, reversed, put into the banks, then gone through to make sure there's no anomalies. But there's not the app that would work on an Ovilus type device, but in one of these apps that's using the MP3 like ours, it would be nearly impossible for the software to get a name off the phone or contacts and then turn that into an MP3 file, like basically speech like that. Because it would, if it did and it used it would come out as an electronical voice. As you know, like the Ovilus does, it speaks the word and it's very mechanical. But obviously, as you like Kerry yourself, you've played with the Ghost Box. You can hear there's nothing mechanical. It's all natural sounds. It's natural human tones, natural frequencies. There's no mechanical voices in there at all. So I can see exactly where he's coming from. Yes, but
okay. And Carl has said, can the app be used offline? So, say if the phone is in airplane mode. Or do you need the phone to be on? Not
at all. Every app I use on my devices, they all turned off. You can have it on complete airplane mode. It doesn't need any sort of internet connection at all. And that was a sort of a stipulation that we did, because obviously when you're out on location, sometimes it's hard to have an internet connection. So we try and make them so they don't need that. So yeah, every one of our apps you can run without internet connection at all.
Okay, brilliant.
Kaz, have you got any questions you want to ask?
Well, the thing I'm thinking about the apps as well is, I mean, part of your reason for making these, Brian, is part of it, the cost effectiveness as well. Because we pay silly money for equipment sometimes.
Oh yes, yeah.
So do you feel, when you've been making these apps, is part of it being from a money-saving point of view as well?
It is. It's because I want people to experience what we experience, like what you said. But when people are starting out in this field, they can't afford all the fancy equipment. You know, all the Oculus 3s and all these things. It's the same way I've been building a Kinect system, a portable Kinect. All these things are very expensive. And a lot of teams who are just starting out, they just can't afford it. But a lot of people, these teams, they already have mobile phones, they already have tablets. So what we do is we allow them to use those as an effective tool. And that's why we sort of look at other apps and we saw how much they were. Like, I've looked at some apps and I would have loved to try them, but I'm thinking I'm not paying that much money for an app. I'm just not. And so that's why we keep the price as low as possible, so anyone can afford to try these things.
So say someone bought one of your apps who was just now. If they came to you and asked for advice how to use it, would you help them with that?
I always do, yes. I've got a lot of people on Facebook now that follow me on Facebook, and I get questions every day about what's the best settings, because there's obviously some of the apps, they have sweep rates and things that you can set and stuff like that. And I try to give the best advice I can to anybody who comes on and asks a question. Again, that's another big thing that I push for in the paranormal field, because there's a lot of sort of negativity in the paranormal field at the moment, where people are sort of like wary about helping or talking to other people and helping other people. But I believe that, you know, it's about para-unity. We all in the same game. We're all striving for the same goal. So why not help each other to achieve that goal?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but I'm still reserve judgment on the whole para-unity thing.
It's a touchy subject.
It is, and there's lots. I mean, we've tackled it over the last few shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's lots of teams out there that are friends with other teams, and it works on the small scale.
Yeah.
But when it comes to everybody working with everybody,
there's a problem.
I think, too many people are too different, and I don't think it's ever going to work in that respect.
That's the problem. That is a big problem, because I mean, I was put under attack. I kind of put myself in the firing line on purpose to show what some of these teams were like and how bad they can be. Yeah. And what came out of that shocked a lot of people. Yeah. They couldn't quite believe what some of these teams were capable of and how far they would go if they didn't like you, if your face didn't fit. And it's a shame. It's a shame, because it didn't always used to be like this. It seems to be there's always been I suppose, even back in the day, I'm making myself sound old now, but even back when we started, it was kind of, I suppose because there wasn't as many people doing it as well, it was a little bit more taboo back then. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's come a long way now. So there wasn't as many doing it, so there wasn't, it was a little bit easier. But I think now everyone's trying to be the next Ghost Adventures. They're trying to be the next one on the top, and they're just climbing over people underneath them to try and get there. And they're willing to do and say anything to try and get to that goal. And it's kind of sad and upsetting to see, to be honest. Yeah,
I mean, I do know quite a few teams, and I'm friends with loads of paranormal people, and yeah, I mean, we all seem to be getting on absolutely fine. Yeah. And, life goes on and we help each other out and stuff. And that's how I see it should be. But, there are a few other teams out there that I've come across, and they like to stick the knife in and twist it and stuff. And, it's not good.
No, I just cut all that out now. I've just basically, I try and ignore, I kind of made a point, and I sort of brought it out into the open. Yeah. But then that's done, and now I just move on, and everybody's seen what's out there. So hopefully, if that helps, for people, forewarned is forearmed, sort of thing.
Absolutely. Then, anyway, we are digressing slightly. We are. So, Kerry, do you want to bring us back in on the chat?
Another question in the chat room, just to clarify. Just to clarify this point. Now, this has come from Carl Hutchinson, who we all know is a tech guy. Now, he
Yeah.
said, so let me get this right, just for me, getting it correct in my head, okay? The app can be used offline. So none
Yes.
of the phone internal function is needed for the app to run.
No, all that's being used is the bit that is basically a computer. It's just using the processing power, the memory, and the screen. None of the actual devices in the phone are being used because they're not needed. There's only one app that we use that really uses the electromagnetic compass. That's the Paravoice that we use to. It's kind of like an obelisk device, so it basically, a word is triggered when a certain electromagnetic field is reached. But basically, 99% of our apps, they're completely offline. They don't need any other sensors in the phone or a tablet, whichever you use in the morning.
Okay. So has the mobile phone got the internal mechanics to work as an EMF detector?
Yes. How it works is your phone has an electromagnetic compass in it that can detect, not as obviously as accurate as a K2 meter, say, but it can detect, and we've shown and proved that it can detect an electromagnetic field. When it comes near it, obviously, basically the electromagnetic compass in your phone is just a compass. So if you bring another magnetic source near it, it's going to react. And we measure that reaction, and we use that to get a reading to then use in some of the apps. So say Paravoice 2, it has the lights like an obelisk device, and if you put the phone closer to, say, a magnet or a speaker, or as you know, everything we use, your computers, your microwaves, they all give off an electromagnetic field. And I use me tablet as an example, because my main tablet has a big magnet in the back for when you're attaching cases and things. And if you put the phone anywhere near, you get a reaction and you get a reading just like a K2, and the lights light up. So
does it give you an exact reading of how much EMF detected?
Yes, it gives you a reading. Obviously, it's not the same type of reading as you get off a K2, and you have to be a bit. I think a K2 has obviously got a slightly larger range, because a phone you have to be fairly close. But again, that depends on the electromagnetic compass in the phone, because each phone and each tablet that has that in, the different qualities. Like I've got a mobile phone. I did a test today and I put it on Facebook to show, and I had two devices, and one I moved closer to the magnet, and one of them was twice as far away as the other one, and it was getting a reaction. So obviously the magnetic compass in that one was a lot more sensitive. So it's down to the device as well. But yes, we get a reading, and we can actually display that reading. And if you look, like I've done an app today just as a test app, a little ghost radar type of app, and I actually display all the readings. So you've got the magnetic compass readings, the X, Y, and Z, and the overall electromagnetic strength that the compass is picking up, and it's displayed on screen, so you can actually see it as a number. And that's the readings we can use to trigger things for the apps to work. But we don't use that all the time. That's just in certain circumstances. Like I say, we did the Paravoice, which was similar to an obelisk, so we had to make it work in a similar way. So it has to have an electromagnetic interference before a word is triggered, just like the obelisk. But all the others, they don't. Like the one we're going to use tonight, the Ghost Box, Aries Box, and all the rest, they don't need anything.
Okay. So the EMF compass, does that use the GPS function?
No, no, because your phone can have GPS, but it might not have a magnetic compass. The electromagnetic compass is, again, just something some manufacturers put in the device to, because you say you get your Galaxy S8 and it's got the compass app on it, so you can turn around, it's got a compass on screen. That's kind of what that's. It's just another thing that the mobile phone companies use to orientate where the phone is in 3D space. But not all devices have them, unfortunately. That's, again, why we don't use it that often, because if we do an app that uses that, a lot of people don't have that in the device. So it's kind of a trade-off. So we try not use it unless we have to, unless the app that we're looking at actually needs that thing, but we try and steer away from it if we can.
Okay. Kerry, what's the chat room talking about at the moment?
There's an awful lot of interest in it from, I say, I've messaged quite a lot of the tech guys that we know. And Carl Hutchinson says, so basically you're using the phone's internal GPS function is being used as an EMF function that triggers a word in the same way as some other well-known handheld devices.
So the one of the apps that we have, yes, it's using it's not the GPS. It's used because the GPS is like different to the electromagnetic compass. It's two different devices in the phone. But yeah, we're using the electromagnetic compass to detect an EMF spike, an EMF field that might be near the phone. So if you know that you're nowhere near anything that's giving off an electromagnetic field, and then you put that device on and you lay it there and it gets a hit, something triggers that device and it gets an electromagnetic hit and it then triggers a word is then pulled out. You know it's nothing else interfering. The device you're using again is on airplane mode, so it's not giving out a data signal as such, because you're not using the phone's data or the Wi-Fi. You're just reading the electromagnetic compass reading, and you look the app is looking for that fluctuation, that change, and it's as simple as that. But like I say, no, it's not using any of the other GPS or Wi-Fi or anything like that. Only the magnetic compass.
Okay. Now, while you guys out there get your heads around that, because I know it's taking a little bit for me to get my head around all of this, should we take a quick break, Paul?
I think so. I think that's a very good idea. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
And welcome back from that message from Harry Price. I thought that was really nice of him to do that. We have Kerry Greenaway, Kaz Rooney and myself, Paul Rook, interviewing Brian Holloway. And we're talking about the phone apps and whether or not the phones are capable of what the apps want to do. And Kerry Greenaway come up with the idea of actually doing an experiment live. So do you want to talk about that, Kerry?
Yeah, well, last night, now, guys out there, you know I am incredibly bad at tech. But I thought we'd have a go because I've not used one before, so I thought we'd have a go. So I downloaded the Ghostbox app. So, Brian, do you want to talk us through a little bit about what the Ghostbox app is? Because it's one of yours.
Yes. Well, it's basically like most of the other apps we have. It's got a certain amount, I think it's 5 or 6 inbuilt banks of audio again. It's not using any of the phone sensors or anything like that. It is literally just going to sweep between those banks at whatever sweep rate you pick. Everyone's got their own favourites. I normally like around 375 milliseconds, 400 milliseconds. And then you press go, and that's it. The audio banks that are in there are all reversed Latin. Again, like what I've said, it's all reversed audio, so there should be nothing coming out forwards. Whether it's an it or an and or a but or a name, it shouldn't be there. And if anything comes out and any of the guys that listen and hear it, it's been manipulated because there's nothing pre-programmed. But the apps are as simple as that. Pick your sweep rate, hit the go button, and then just see what happens.
Okay. Oh, this could go horribly wrong with Kerry's working her apps. Okay, so there is a camera function on this as well, isn't there?
Pardon? On the Ghostbox? No.
Oh, because I can link into my camera on my phone.
Right.
So I can have the Ghostbox going and the phone going at the same, the camera going at the same time.
If it's the Ghostbox, the one of the latest ones that was released, that one didn't have a camera function. So I'm confused which one you've actually got, because some of the earlier ones, some of the earlier apps did have a camera function because people asked for it, so they could actually record the location they were in while the actual app was running. But on later apps, we removed that feature because certain people's devices were just not capable of doing both at once. Just like Paul was saying, that you know, it can be quite taxing. You haven't got a top-of-the-range phone, which a lot of people don't. So we actually took that feature out of the lot modern of apps. So.
Oh, well, I've obviously got an old version of it then, because this is the one I downloaded last night that came up
Right.
on Google Play. So, and the sweep rate was only 250 ms.
Right, yes, because we set, again, each app, we set the base sweep rate at different rates depending on what people kind of ask for and what the thing is. So, but you can change that on the fly. Once the app is running, you can actually change the sweep rate and just alter it to faster or slower to suit what you think it sounds like. Some people like them to sweep faster. Some people like a little bit slower.
Okay, well, I've got it at the max of this particular app, which was 250 ms. That's the
because you like
the
it
one
fast,
I
yeah.
downloaded. It was the first one that came up that said Brian, so
Yeah.
I was like, you know.
It could be. It could be one of the very first ones. I don't think it's the one that's actually called the Ghost Box, because that basically just has. It's kind of like got a steampunk type of aesthetic to it, and it's got two shadowy figures at the top. If you've got that, then that's the one. But it doesn't have a camera function, so I think you've definitely got one of the earlier apps.
Oh, okay. Well, it's called Soul Seekers UK Ghost Box is the one I
That-
downloaded.
Right, that is the very, very, very first Ghost Box I ever did. That is the first one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, when it pops up, it says that everything's in reverse and, you know, whatnot. So should we have a go?
Just give it a go. Yes, like I say, it's bringing back memories because this is the first one I ever did. This is where it all started.
Okay, let's have a go.
This could also
As I say,
be
guys,
exactly
I'm really
where it
bad
ends.
at tech,
Yeah.
so
But
please forgive me if it goes wrong.
But obviously, for anybody that's listening, this was our first sort of kind of work doing this. So where we at now, the apps have progressed a long way since even from the first Ghost Box. So please don't judge me by this one, because again, we've come a long way. And this was just our first dabble, our first try. We were all excited, and we were just so happy to be able to do this. But it'll be fine. It'll be good.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought this was. I just did a search, and this was the
No,
one that
no.
came up, so I bought it, and I thought I'd have a go of it. So anyway, let's have a go. So let me just work this.
Right.
Sorry, it's scanning. I hope you guys can hear this.
Yeah, I can just hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Normally,
hear this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
if there's any spirits near me and in my room, could you please step forward? Could you please step forward and speak, and we'll be able to hear you? If there are any spirits in my room, could you please step forward to me and speak into this app? They'll be able to hear you. If you're here, could you say my name?
It's also a good thing that you're not getting anything, because that rules out what people say that the stuff wasn't like planted in these things, because it would just be spitting anything out now.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't turn these things on and they just automatically start spitting stuff out.
I was having words come through this earlier, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
That's the thing. But it's just an interesting point that there's not a lot there at the minute, because there's nothing there that's wanting to communicate.
Okay, if the spirit who was with me earlier, if you could please step forward and speak, I'll be able to hear you again. If you say hello, I'll be able to hear you. please draw close to me and speak through this device, and I'll be able to hear you. So please say hello or say my name.
Could be through my headphones, but I thought I heard a name there.
Can you say my name again, please? I thought I heard step back.
Mm-hmm. I can hear something. I can every now and again I can hear words starting to form, but I can't quite make my earphones sound the world's best, unfortunately.
Kaz, can
Maybe.
you hear anything?
I'm hearing the odd little thing, but I'm not quite picking it up. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a word there and you're just missing it.
You just exactly.
Gibberish as well.
Maybe it's your demon, Kerry.
Sorry, movement detected. I moved my hand then. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. If there's any spirit in the room, could you please step forward? Could you please speak? And we'll be able to hear you. I can feel you drawing closer. Could you please speak and give me a clear answer?
That's it. Push something. I heard push.
Please speak clearly and we'll be able to hear you.
Ask for Bob with the orange.
If you could just say hello for me, that would be fantastic. And say it again for me, please. Say hello. Okay. We'll turn that off for now.
That brings back memories.
Now, Carl Hutchinson has asked another question in the chat room.
Yeah.
He said, just a quick question. The bank of audio, is it the same voice or have you used different voices in the different audio bank?
Good question, and that's something I was wanting to touch on. What we learned from that very first app was it's important because some people were making apps and they were just chucking any audio in and hoping stuff would come out. But my philosophy was, why make it difficult for a spirit? A spirit used to be a person and it had a voice. It could talk in different tones. So what we do is, from that first app, as you can hear, we try to use different tones, male and female, like high, mid, and low range tones. Obviously, they're not saying anything. It's gibberish that they actually saying, and then it's reversed. But it's more about the tones. And we use like male, female, young, and old to give us that full range. So you are hearing male and female in there. But that's literally all it's designed for. It's not designed to make it sound creepy or sound weird. It's just to give a full range of frequencies that we can and tones for them to be able to manipulate and use. So
Paul, did you hear anything in that?
No.
Cass?
No, I didn't. But then I very rarely do. Even on the Spirit Box, Frank's Box, whatever you want to call it, I don't ever hear any of it. White noise to me just starts sounding a bit like the snare drum playing. That's all it sounds like to me, and I can never pick out words or anything like that. So.
Well, the thing is that, like I said, that was an early app. We've progressed a long, long way since then. And again, I didn't hear a lot in there. But again, that's just as fascinating to me as an investigator that there wasn't anything in there. Because again, like I said, it shows these people are saying there's stuff in there. It's hidden. It's not. Because if it was, it would be throwing it out all of the time. But it's, again, the more you use these apps, the more your ears become attuned to listening for them words that are coming out forwards. We try and make it, especially with the newer apps, make it as easy as possible. There's not as much static noise in there. It's just basically when a word does come out, it is so clear and there's no mistaking in what it's saying. I mean, even testing these apps, I tested the newer one, and other people have, and it's not you think you hear a word. It's a voice, and it's there, and it has different tones. There's different dialects. We've had different languages coming out this thing. I've had a friend of mine, Javier, who I work with in Spain Paranormal, doing some of the apps. He's getting one of my apps and used it. He's getting fluent Spanish, and there isn't Spanish in there. There's nothing in there. So it just shows. It doesn't work all the time. And I've had people message us and say, well, I've tried one of your apps and I didn't get anything. And I said, but yeah, that's the point. There has to be a spirit there that wants to talk to you, or you're not going to get anything. You know what I mean?
So if someone buys one of your apps, and then you update it, like for example with Kerry, she's bought the app, but it was your old version.
Yeah.
Is there an update for that version?
No.
Or do you have to go and buy the next one that you come out with?
No, what we did when we first did that first one, and what I said to people is I was going to update it, and because they were getting really good results, I got so many complaints saying, don't update it, because if you update it, it'll change it. And we want to keep this version, so that's what we've done. And each version we've done, we've added we've gone, learned as we've been going. But as we've been doing each one, even when we got to Gemini's Box Mark III, people didn't want us to touch it once they had it, because it would change it. And each person's getting such unique replies from each different one that I don't think I would dare touch them. I just get so many complaints and so many things. So yeah, you could. But the thing is, you don't have to use the most up-to-date one. You can use whichever one suits you. And you don't need to buy any particular one to get extra features. The first one, like that one, will work just as good as the modern one. It's just we've learned as we've gone, and we've changed the audio as we've been going and refining it. But they all work in their own right.
Yeah. It would be interesting to get a team of, say, 5 people, for example, and each have a different version of it on and see if they get the same results.
Yeah. Well, but people have. I mean, there's actually some professionals you testing these apps now, and some of them are actually test them, like I say, they go on live with them and they're using them on TV. And the one that's not released yet, the Legion, some of the guys are a bit sceptical, which is perfectly natural. And the story that came back from my friend who was watching the stream and who was friends with the guy that was doing it said he turned it on and he tried to catch it out, which again I perfectly agree with. And he asked a question and he said, "What just happened to me mum?" And it was a simple question like that. Now again, I wouldn't know that to pre-program it in. And clearly they said the jaws hit the floor. A voice came out of the app and it said she was in a car crash, broke a leg. And that's exactly what had happened, and he didn't tell anybody. So it's things like that show that there's something going on. There's something able to use these things to communicate. And like I say, just running that app now, it's fine that we got nothing. You know what I mean? That's just as important to me as actually getting something as incredible as that.
Yeah.
And also bear in mind, we only were doing it for a minute, 2 minutes tops.
Yeah,
we weren't doing it for very long at all.
No.
Now, Carl again has asked a question. He said, "Are you not worried that because you're hearing clips of audio that you're going to get more audio pareidolia?" Which is a fair point because
that is a very fair point. Yeah. But that's why we go through the audio, because obviously, like what he's saying, you obviously you will get some sounds as they mix and maybe sounds like a word. But if you're listening to Paradolia, when someone turns one of these apps on and it clearly speaks their name, and other people in the room hear that, and you've got maybe 5 or 6 people in the room that hear the name clearly, Paradolia, not everyone like Paul here, he didn't hear anything in there, and he might not. He might be sitting listening to that app and might hear nothing. So if it was Paradolia, it wouldn't affect 5, 6, 7 people all at once. Do you know what I'm saying? So it is a possibility. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, because obviously that's the way the human mind can work. But we try and rule that out as much as possible by going through these audio banks and removing anything that might even remotely sound like a word. But obviously you're still going to get random mixing of the banks that may cause your brain to think. But when you're getting entire sentences as well, and such very specific information, it all cannot be down to Paradolia. Some of it may, but some of it may not. Like I say, I'm not saying these apps are for everyone, and I'm not saying it's 100. Everything that you hear is 100% communication, because you do get random. I'm running these things sometimes. I can just get random words that just come out of nowhere, and I think, well, I didn't even ask the question, you know. So where did that come from? So it is a possibility. It's a good question. Yeah, it's a good point.
Kaz, did you hear anything in that experiment, that short experiment?
I thought I heard a word, but I didn't quite catch it. But most of it just seemed like gibberish to me. But like you said, Kerry, we're only doing it for a minute or two. We weren't really doing it for any real length of time to let it build up.
Yeah.
I mean, earlier on, I downloaded it last night, and I had to play because I'm interested, and I was researching and I was looking into this. I thought, well, there's no point me researching this if I don't look into it properly and have a go, because I've not really used apps in the field myself. So I thought, so I just went onto Google Store, pulled up what I could, and that was the version that came up for me. And so I downloaded it, and I had a go last night. I didn't hear anything last night. And then earlier on today, I had another go, and I was sitting in my infamous crystal room, and I got very, very clearly, hello, and it was clear as a bell, not going to lie, to the point where I went, hello, thinking,
I've done that very same thing,
Okay, what have I got in my house? And then the kids came in, and it all got a bit confused, so I had to turn it off. So I was like, oh, God, just as it was always the way, just as it was getting interesting. But it was, and I have to say, I'm not going to lie, it was clear as a bell. Now, I've watched plenty of experience about audio pareidolia, and I'm very, very aware that your mind can make patterns when you listen to things or hear things. And I've experienced audio pareidolia when I've, in an almost hallucinogenic way, when I've been ill as well. So I kind of know the hallmarks, as it were. But this was clear as a bell earlier. And as I say, it made me sit up and go, hello.
Yeah, they do. I mean, when I was...
I'm so sorry, guys. My TV has just turned itself on, so I'm going to go. After all of this, my TV has just turned itself on.
Well, that's it. That's the ghost that you've just invited in and turned the machine off.
It's my random ghost that's in my house anyway. I'm going to go and turn that off. You guys carry on talking.
See, it was the ghost that came in.
I don't know if you can hear it, but it's gone on, and it's gone on really loudly. Yeah,
and then you turned your phone off, and now he's
trying to the TV was turned off. I'm telling you now, my TV was turned off. So I'm going to go and sort that out. You guys talk amongst yourselves while I sort that out.
Wasn't it Poltergeist where you sit in front of the TV and it's like, he's here?
No, if you start saying that, then I'll get worried.
Now, that would be funny. So if we don't hear from Kerry, we know there's work.
She's being sent to another dimension, through the TV.
That's it, absolutely. Yeah. Kaz, have you got any questions you want to ask?
Yeah, I do actually. Brian.
Yeah.
As you were saying, most of your apps you can use offline. So if I'm going to Pendle Hill, which, as you know, isn't the best for signal at times, like I said, I haven't used phone apps
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking, what I should do, to be fair, since we've been doing this interview,
Yeah.
I'll download some of your apps on Friday, and I will get someone to film me using
Right.
them at Pendle Hill.
That would be awesome. That would be
Is-
brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That would be fantastic.
do it that way, and then I
Yeah.
can do. It can run for a bit longer, then, can't it?
That's
So-
the thing. You've got to run these things for a little while. I mean, sometimes I have turned them on and get an instant communication. Like I was just testing when I first started working on Legion Box. I just turned it on,
Yeah.
and within seconds, I got the creepiest voice I've ever heard in my life. And it basically, because that app, like I say, is meant to be a little bit darker, and it basically was a male voice, and I didn't even have time to take my finger off the screen from turning it on, and it just said, "You scared?" in a really cocky voice, kind of, and I was like, well, I wasn't, but I'm working on it. And I just then turned it off. But yeah, sometimes you can get instant communication, but sometimes you've got to let these things run. You've got to let the spirit get used to what's going on. And what I always say to people, if you're running these things, especially in new locations, things, just a quick explanation. I know some people might think it sounds crazy, but just explain what you want them to do. That they can use this device, they can use these sounds, and then just let it run. And then, like I said, just let it run and just record it and see what happens.
Well,
I'll be interested to see what comes up on the Pendle Hill.
Yeah.
So,
Well, again, Pendle Hill's an interesting location.
I think it'd be the kind of perfect location to do it because
Yeah.
the signal isn't always the best. So if I can use offline,
Yeah, you can use pretty much all the. I think we've never actually made an app yet that has to have an online connection because, like I say, it was a stipulation when we first started doing these things that we do locations where phone signal just doesn't exist and Wi-Fi and things like that. So it's pointless having it. It's a hindrance rather than it is a help for any of the apps. So yeah, you don't need a phone signal, and like I say, just to make 100%, just turn the phone into airplane mode anyway, or the tablet. And just close all that down, and then you're guaranteed it won't affect or shouldn't affect any other equipment. But definitely, but Pendle Hill is kind of an interesting location to what app you might want to use, because obviously Pendle Hill has a reputation, doesn't it, for being a little bit...
yeah, it does.
What's the word? Dark, yeah. So do you want to use maybe a more positive app, or maybe use something like Legion Box, which is being said to be one of the creepiest things people have ever tried to use, and it's so it'd be interesting to see which way you would maybe want to go with that.
I'm so going to download that Legion app. It's got to be done.
Well, it's not out yet, Paul. But what I was just going to say to Kaz, I do have a test version that's out for testing. If you would like, I can send you it so you can use it.
Oh yeah.
You can use it. The Legion Box is the one that the TV guy and a couple of skeptics tried to use, and when you watch the live stream, things changed dramatically when they turned this thing on, because it uses the same as Aries Box. It has the Ghost Box, but it actually has two ambient banks you can run as well to set a mood, if you like, to put your mind in a certain place and bring certain energies in, spirits. So you've got 1 and 2 ambient bank, and as soon as you run them, they have a very unique sound. So you run an ambient bank just to get the mood, then set the Ghost Box going. You can either leave the ambient bank running, or you can turn it off and just have the Ghost Box. I normally leave an ambient bank on just to keep the mood going. And you just...
We've got a couple of questions in the chat room. Basically, they want to know what you mean by a darker version.
Right, yeah. So, again, I speak this stuff and I forget that people don't understand. What we learned that what you put into an app, what we've figured out and what we've done through testing is if you put, say, like Aries Box uses all positive prayer. It's all positive, and I know you can't understand it because it's gibberish, but somehow it seems to affect the type of spirit that want to try and communicate through that app. So Aries Box has got, again, it's got the 2 ambient banks, but it's all positive. The Latin that's in there is all positive, and we've never had anything negative come through it. It's always been positive communication. And then I thought, right, so if that works for positive, what would happen if we went the other way? And we used Latin, but that was darker Latin, like Latin more, if you want, more slightly demonic, because obviously you've got good and you've got bad. So that's what we did with Legion Box. I did it exactly the mirror opposite, and we put Latin prayer, but negative stuff, more demonic stuff. And every time we run that, we get nothing that's light and fluffy, as I call it. We get nothing good. It's all a bit weird, and which again is on a scientific level and an investigation level, it's kind of fascinating that you've got two apps.
So basically, what you're saying is, you obviously with the positive stuff, you're classing that as a light.
That's what I class as a light, and the dark. And basically, it does work like that. The apps that have got the more positive stuff in seem to attract more positive energy, more positive spirits, and you get more like what I call normal communication. But when we're using the darker ones, like the new one, you're pulling in a totally different type of energy. Nothing sort of like that you would get in Ares Box is going to come through Legion Box. And I've done loads of live streams now testing these things out, and we've just shown even in the same location I can run Ares Box and I'm getting communication coming through, and it's all pretty good and pretty cool. Then I put Legion Box on and the whole atmosphere changes.
Could using the Legion Box be classed as antagonising the spirit?
It's not antagonising, because it's the same as what you say. If we know that there are good spirits, we know there's slightly more negative spirits. So you could say in that sense that if I run Ares Box, am I antagonising the darker spirits? No, basically they're just not sort of happy with trying to communicate through that. Maybe it's because it uses prayer that they're still able to pick up on the vibration somehow. Yeah. But it's not antagonising them, no. Obviously, it's a tool for a job. So if you're wanting to communicate, if you're using Legion Box, you're not wanting to try and communicate with anything what I would call positive. But you've got to understand that, you don't switch Legion Box on, say, unless you know exactly what you're wanting to communicate with. Do you understand what I'm saying? You've got to know what you're doing, because as you can mess with the darker stuff, but you've got to know what you're getting into.
Okay, so can I cut in here and ask to clarify this point? So when you say you've used, for example, Latin texts, and you've used lighter, so are they like more like religious prayers and positive ways like that, and you've broken that language up into segments, as it were, and then mixed it all up and then reversed it?
Exactly. The Ares Box is it's the Lord's Prayer, it's protection prayer that's used in religion, all positive to bring positivity and protection. That's all that's in there. And I guess it's Latin, then that Latin is then completely reversed. So there's no way, even if you knew Latin, that you would even know it's speaking Latin, because then obviously your mind would trick that you kind of would know what it was picking words out. So it's basically just all positive prayer and positive things. Even the ambient banks are all positive. It all, when you set it going, it puts your mind in that positive mood.
Right.
Which I believe helps with communicating with spirit as well. Depends where your mind is and what frame of mind you're in, determines what you may sort of bring in.
Okay, so when you said darker, have you used like Latin grimoires and stuff like that, and then done the reverse with that?
Exactly. Basically, yes, the exact mirror opposite. The Latin that's in Legion boxes is Latin that is used in some sort of like rituals and sort of darker rituals and things like that. And again, yes, it's completely reversed, but it's all dark stuff. It's nothing that's like, there's no protection prayers and anything like that that's in Ares box. It's all what people would deem as a bit more dark, a bit more demonic, and just reverse the same. So it is exactly the mirror opposite of the other one.
Okay, so you've used Latin.
Mm-hmm.
How then? Right. So is it just them using the syllables, the spirit is using the syllables that are programmed to manipulate that to make words?
No, because there are no syllables as such. It's just basically noise. What they're using is, the way we understand it works is why I give, like in some of the apps, I give like male, female, young, old and things, tones and things. They're able to manipulate that sound somehow. Obviously we don't know exactly how they do it. We would love to, but we don't. But they're able to manipulate those bits of sounds, those tones, to knit them together to form a word, and in some cases many words together. But there are no pre-programmed little sounds. It's just all complete random. It's just gibberish basically, and it's just the tones and the frequencies they're able to pick up on and use.
Okay, so going on a marketing point of view, when you market your apps, and do you market them as in lighter and darker, or
Yes,
are they just a generic name?
No. I always inform people, because I'm a firm believer in, you don't want to be messing on with the dark stuff unless you pretty much know what you're doing, because it can turn, as we know, things can turn bad quick when you're dealing with anything with the paranormal, especially the darker stuff. So I always inform people when they go on the Play Store that, if it's for darker purposes, then that's what it's for. Understand that that's what you're getting. If you're wanting to talk to spirit in general, use this, or use, I do sort of talk about other people's apps as well. So I always make sure people understand how they work and what the intention of that app is.
Okay, going on that then, from a psychological point of view, doesn't that then put somebody in a specific frame of mind? So, for example, if I downloaded a darker app, that puts me in a specific frame of mind when I turn the app on that I'm going to get a darker energy, or I'm going to get a darker thing. So my audio pareidolia then kicks in and then says, that's what I'm going to hear.
Yes and no, not necessarily, because some of the other apps that I've had and I use myself that aren't specifically for dark, it's just that because we've got the really light, that we've got some really dark, and we've got some in the middle that are just sort of like generalised apps that's just got generalised tones, like say male and female. And I've actually had negative stuff, and I've had other people had negative stuff coming out of those. So the frame of mind of going into it is, it's just now I'm going to be able to communicate with spirit, but I don't put anything in there that says you're going to necessarily get good or bad. And people get a mix. Some people are getting good, some people are getting bad. I'm getting sworn at quite, severely bad, like from some of these things. So I do see what you're saying, yes, but I kind of don't think it would exactly work like that. Obviously, if you're getting a dark app, you know exactly what you're going to be getting into. So
Andy wanted to go back to the grimoires. You said you used some dark or negative grimoires. He would like some clarification on what grimoires you used.
Well, it was just, I'm not an expert on the dark stuff and about what some of these things are. I've gone off other people's advice on like what to use in there, and of course I don't speak Latin, so I don't actually know what the Latin is saying per se. But where we sourced a lot of them from was from things online, from audio people that have actually given me that is from demonic rituals and things like that. And you can tell by just listening. Like I say, I wish I could speak Latin, and I wish I knew exactly what they were saying. But you can even tell some of the audio files that I have. You can tell that what the intention is when that incantation was given. I will be able to release more details of exactly some of the banks that I used in that once it's released, which I will be making public, and that will be actually when it goes on the Play Store. I will put a lot more detail in about kind of what was used.
Would you be offering some sort of help and advice should anyone get an attachment?
Oh, of course. I will not put this app out lightly. It will come with a warning. It will come with a warning. You must know what you're getting into when you get this app. Do not download this app if you don't know exactly what you're going to be getting into by using said app. And if anyone, and I always say to people, if you have any problems, if you have any issues, you can find me online, you can find me on Facebook. You're more than welcome to drop me a message and I'll help any way I can.
Yeah. Cole Hutchinson as well. He said, do you have an app that uses both positive and negative, or light and dark?
Not at the moment, but we will do, because we are working on Geminus Box Mark III, the follow-up to Mark II. And that, again, is a very good question. You'd think they were reading my mind. that's kind of where we were going. Try and experiment, if you like, about using both in the same app.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting concept, and we're eager to see how that's going to work.
Okay, Kaz, have you got anything else you want to ask? Have you come up with anything?
If I'm going to Pendle Hill and using the new app, what would you suggest I use? What do you think is best, Brian?
Well, again, because of where you are, I would be inclined, if it was me, I would use the Legion box. But if you wanted to not go down that route, I would say the next best one to use would be Aries box, which is the positive one to see. Again, it would be interesting to see what running an app of that positivity would do in a situation in a place like Pendle Hill. It's also an interesting sort of thing. But if it was me and I was going to a location like that, I wouldn't be able to help myself. I would have to run something like Legion box because obviously the energy around that place is a little bit funky to start with.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
But what I will do, Kaz, like I said, if you send me a message on Facebook, a private message, I will send you a link to download the test version of Legion box. And if you want to use it, by all means, using it. But like what we've said, understand what the app is for. It's not going to bring in anything sort of positive as such. So if you're happy to do that though and film it and let people see, then that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Right, if you're happy to do that, like I say, just send me a message on Facebook and I'll send you a link, and I'll be happy for you to try it out and let me know what you think.
I will.
Excellent.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what does actually come back.
I'm
really good.
I'm fascinated to hear what does come back.
Yeah, Kerry, is there any more questions in the chat room?
Yeah, I want that app too, please.
Well,
just put
you're
it
welcome.
out there.
You're welcome. I will send you it, but I like, again, this is not just for dramatic effect. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure.
I'm sure that then I'll send it. And again, it's still in the testing phase at the minute. It's nearly there, but it'll be fascinating to see what you get with it.
Okay. Now, one thing Carl Hutchinson has said is if you used both the positive and the negative, or the light and the dark as you class it, then it would take out that of being led either way. So it would have, if you made an app that had both the positive and the negative and the light and the dark in it, then it would take out that psychological effect of being led either way.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be an app I would suggest you develop, in all honesty.
Well, that's actually it's well underway. It's well underway. It's what we're working on at the moment. And again, I'm quite happy that when we get that to a stage that it can be tested, Kerry, if you want to test it for us and give it a go, by all means, if you would be happy to do that.
Oh, I'm very happy to help in any way I can.
Well, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and Carl himself, as I say, he's very, very tech-minded. He's one of my go-to tech guys, as is Kev Kerr. He said he would love to test this at a location, and he's got a specific location in mind. So when you've got that one that's got the mix of the two in it, he would very, very much be, happy to help test that for you. So, we're actually giving you a chance to showcase these to people that work very, very technical minded in the paranormal field, which is absolutely fantastic.
That's what I love. I don't mind people trying these things out, and especially the ones that we have in the test phase, because when people get it and they take it out into the field, into locations, and the feedback we get from that only helps make these things better when people are using them as they should be used. So yeah, that's fantastic. Well, what I'll do is once I get it ready and it's in a testing sort of phase, I'll let you try it, Kerry, and then we can pass it on to whoever wants to give it a try. But we're very excited by this concept, like I say, because it's just something we've never tried before, and like what you just mentioned, it will rule out any being led any one way, and we're just itching to get it to get it ready, to get it going, to see what happens.
I think that's incredibly, incredibly important, because if we're going to progress the field, me and Paul have talked about this, or Paul and I, sorry, have talked about this quite often, about progressing the field, that it feels quite stagnant in some ways. So any way we can progress the field is only going to be done by a form of para-unity, which I know is very difficult to achieve, but by putting it up to your peers and the people that are out there scientifically and sensibly and rationally looking at the paranormal field and looking at it in different ways and allowing them to have a go and put their professional, experienced, position on it and seeing how it works and whether or not we can progress the field using this. I mean, Paul and I were talking to Graham Smith last week, and he was looking at doing something with some of the sensors in an iPhone 7, weren't we, Paul?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know he's very interested in speaking with you as well. And Carl himself, and I know Kev has messaged me privately saying he's going to get in contact with you to discuss things further, and he is with the ASAP, heavily involved with the ASAP. So hopefully we can help, bring this distrust to do with phone apps a little bit, forward and, see whether they do actually have a real relevance in the paranormal field, because at the moment it's still an untried, testing ground, really. And yet it's technology that's available to us.
Exactly. It's still in early stages. It's still early days yet. We've just literally come out of the phase of people seeing some of these apps as just toys, as just gimmicks. So we're still very early stages, but we're getting there. Like I say, some of these apps are going out to people that are very, well versed in this field and what we would call experts, and they're willing to give it a go. That's the bit for us that's so special. They haven't just said no, we're not interested, we don't believe. They're willing to give it a try, and again, like what you said, the feedback we get back from that is invaluable, and it's a very important part of what we do.
No, I agree. I mean, we all know that our phones we can record so much stuff already. I mean, there's so many different sensors in our phones at this point. So even if you take the app section out of it, your phone is definitely a great tool that you could use in and sometimes, like you said, they're like mini computers now. They're not like the old days. They are like little mini computers in their own right. And just to mention, I want to give a nod to some of the sensors that you already have in your phone. You already have accelerometers. I don't know. That's
accelerometers.
That's the word. Thank you, Brian. High five. Gyroscopes, magnetometers, barometers, humidity, temperature, light, proximity, heart rate, camera, fingerprint, microphone, touch screen. You already have those sensors within your phone that you can possibly use to help you on your paranormal investigations. The next step is taking it into the app section, which is just the software that translates what the sensors are taking a reading from. So if we can understand that better, and if we can look at pushing the field forward using this technology that we carry around on a day-to-day basis, then it's maybe a way forward.
That's what I'm hoping. And you hit the nail on the head. Everybody has a mobile phone, or nearly everybody has a mobile phone or a tablet. And it's in your pocket. And it's usable. It's a usable piece of tech. And it's something that's readily available. And all those sensors that you spoke about, when you think about it, in a lot of proper custom-built ghost equipment, they use them very same sensors. They use the barometers and gyroscopes and all these things that's already in your phone and it's in your pocket. So why not utilize that? That's the whole point of, again, one of the points why we do what we do. You don't have to spend a lot of money on a piece of equipment because you've already got it. You just need the software to be able to take advantage of those sensors and those readings to do what we do in the paranormal field.
I think the issue is for some paranormal investigators is the calibration of those devices, because as you said earlier on the show, each phone is different.
That's the thing.
And there's no standard calibration.
Unfortunately,
and I think that's why a lot of paranormal investigators will rather go out and buy the proper piece of equipment to do the job as opposed to using the phone app.
Exactly.
Because you don't know what that calibration is.
That's the problem. Each device is different. But the way we've gone, I mean, some people do use a lot of the hardware that's in a phone. And some people have tried to use software to help calibrate that and bring each device as close to a standard as possible. But that's still very hard to do, because I've shown today in the test I did that there is a very large gap between devices sometimes. But that's why, again, all these sensors are in here. I'm hoping one day we can develop apps that do take full advantage of them the best they can.
Are you going to cater for the people that sadly have iPhones? or are they going to have to go out and buy an adult phone like the Android?
Do you mean go out and buy a real phone?
Yeah.
Well, it's surprising how many times I get asked that, but unfortunately not, because Apple make it so difficult and so expensive to develop apps for that it's kind of almost too much. But what people have done, I've actually had people who have seen the app, like friends using the apps, and were so impressed they've gone out and bought an Android device. Even though the iPhone lovers, they said it almost burned to actually touch it, but they just wanted to use the app, they wanted to do it, so they've done that. There are apps out there for the iPhone, not quite like this, but there are still possibilities out there for iPhone users. Now, I have used a few of them, and I do like a few of them, but there just isn't as much choice, unfortunately. But for us, Android, I'm afraid, is the way forward at the moment.
Absolutely, Android. I totally agree. I love my Android phone, and it's compatible with lots of other devices, unlike the iPhone. The iPhone only wants to work with other iPhones.
I've had an iPhone. Brian's page on the chat room. So, Carl, please feel free to get in contact. Kev, I know you're around. Please feel free to get in contact and discuss any other issue, because we've run over by half an hour nearly. I know, I knew it was going to go like this because it's such an interesting subject. So guys, if you want to discuss it further with Brian, as you've heard tonight, he's so up for discussing it with you, and there are so many questions that I'm sure you have for him. So yeah, feel free to connect. Feel free to connect with him.
Yeah, by all means, I love it when people do that, and I love the questions. I love people being inquisitive about it, because that's how we learn. That's how people find out about these things. And I'm a very open person. I'll answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Absolutely, and it's quite a good idea for any investigator to keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
So when these things do come up, or a new piece of equipment arrives, it's always good to keep an open mind. Don't dismiss it straight away. Just try it out, see how it goes. And no, I'm very open-minded, so I'm definitely gonna. I've already contacted you for the link for the Legion.
And I'm already there as well. So
I take no responsibility if anyone gets possessed while you.
That's fine.
Yeah, we don't mind that.
Stuff anyway.
Just give us the link.
That's it.
Well, I'll hit you with that up tonight, so you can basically have a good mess around with, have a play. And again, it's like all the other apps. You basically turn it on, you pick your sweep rate. You've got the choice of an ambient bank if you want them, one or two, or you can play them both together, and you just hit go. And then just sit back and wait. and wait
for your TV to turn on randomly.
That could happen, yes.
I'm going to have to do a serious cleansing of my house after tonight, I feel.
Get the CH out. Get the CH
again. So yeah, we have come to the end of the show. It's been fantastic.
It's
been a really good
It's been brilliant.
conversation. Absolutely.
Good.
Loved every minute of it. So thank you, Brian, for joining us tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Maybe next time you bring another app out, maybe we can have you on about that as well.
Well,
Excellent.
We'll the next one.
Absolutely.
The most up-to-date one.
Next week, we're talking, both me and Kerry are talking about science behind the EMF field, EMF detector.
Hutchinson. We've got Carl Hutchinson with us next week, Paul, as
wow.
well.
Have we? Oh, we've got Cole Hutchinson as well, so that's going to be absolutely fabulous. I'm gonna love that conversation. That's going to be brilliant.
Yeah,
Just
we're going to get to the nitty-gritties of EMF. And what is it?
Absolutely.
What is it we're actually trying to find with EMF?
Do you know what? I don't know, because you just read the article and you said, "Oh, we're going to do a show about this." So,
And then I went, "Oh, I need an expert."
Kaz, thank you for joining me as well tonight. Do you want to appear next week as well?
Yeah,
Yeah?
love. Thank you for having me.
No problem.
I'll send you the article, Kaz.
We'll get you on as well. The more the merrier, to be honest. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And we just, rather than having a formal interview, we just have a general chat and enjoy it. That's what the paranormal's all about.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been real good fun. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So, and Kerry, thank you for joining me again tonight.
Always welcome, baby.
That's all right. I've got you down for next week already. And thanks everybody in the chat room. Cole, Andy, Kerry, even you're in the chat room. How cool's that?
No.
Lindsay's in there. So hello, Lindsay. Akela, she's in there. So thank you for joining us. And Kev Kerr as well. Thanks for joining us. Absolutely fantastic. So we shall, if we all make it through the heat for next week, we'll see you next week. So stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.